I never thought I'd witness the end of the world. Floating in the weightlessness of the International Space Station, I had the best seat in the house for the final act of human civilization. It started as a bright flash, so intense it momentarily blinded me. When my vision cleared, I saw Earth, my home, engulfed in fire and ash. It was as if a giant hand had swept across the globe, erasing everything in an instant. Desperation clawed at my chest as I scrambled to contact Mission Control. Static. I tried again, reaching out to other space agencies. Silence. My crewmates were on a spacewalk when it happened. I could see their lifeless bodies drifting, tethered to the station but beyond help, alone, completely and utterly alone. Days turned into weeks. I rationed my supplies, knowing that they wouldn't last forever. I tried to keep a routine, performing maintenance tasks and keeping the ISS in order. But it was just a way to keep myself from thinking too much, from facing the crushing reality of my situation. Every time I looked out the porthole, I saw Earth, charred, lifeless, an orb of desolation. My home, reduced to nothing. The silence was the worst part. It was an all-encompassing void that seemed to press in on me from all sides. I tried to distract myself by listening to old recordings, music, anything to fill the emptiness. But even those familiar sounds began to feel distant, disconnected from the new reality I was facing. One day, while running a routine systems check, I stumbled upon an anomaly in the station's communications logs. There were transmissions, unidentified short bursts of static and garbled messages. My heart raced as I tried to decode them, hoping against hope that there was someone else out there, someone who had survived. But the messages made no sense. They were fragmented, filled with nonsensical symbols and distorted sounds. That night, as I tried to sleep, I heard the first whisper. It was faint, just a murmur on the edge of my consciousness. I sat up, heart pounding, and listened intently. There it was again, a voice, but I couldn't make out the words. I convinced myself it was just the station's systems, the hum of machinery. But deep down I knew something was wrong. The whispers grew more frequent, more distinct. They seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, an omnipresent murmur that filled the station. I couldn't escape it. During my waking hours, I heard them in the background, a constant reminder that I was not alone. At night, they invaded my dreams, turning them into twisted nightmares. Objects began to move on their own. Tools I had secured drifted out of place. My personal items shifted positions while I wasn't looking. It was as if the station itself was alive, playing tricks on my mind. I checked and rechecked everything, convinced that I was losing my sanity. But the evidence was undeniable. One day, while performing a routine check on the solar panels, I saw a shadow move across the control room. I turned, but there was nothing there. My heart raced as I scanned the room, looking for any sign of an intruder. But I was alone. The shadow was gone, but the feeling of being watched remained. I began to see the shadow more often. It was always just at the edge of my vision, a flicker of darkness that disappeared when I tried to focus on it. My reflection in the porthole became a source of dread. The face that stared back at me was gaunt, hollow-eyed, a ghost of the person I once was. I avoided mirrors, unable to confront the madness in my own eyes. The whispers became more insistent. They spoke my name, over and over, a mocking litany that eroded my sanity. I couldn't escape them. They were with me in every corner of the station, in every moment of my existence. The walls seemed to close in on me, the station's narrow corridors turning into a labyrinth of terror. I tried to contact Earth again, hoping for some semblance of human connection, but there was only static. I recorded messages, sending them out into the void, hoping someone, somewhere would hear me. But I knew it was futile. I was alone, completely and utterly alone. The paranoia grew unbearable. I began to see faces in the darkness, twisted and contorted, watching me with malevolent eyes. I knew they weren't real, just figments of my fractured mind. But they felt real. They were always there, lurking in the shadows, waiting for me to let my guard down. One night, as I drifted in and out of a restless sleep, I felt a cold breath on my neck. I jolted awake, heart pounding, and saw the shadow looming over me. It was darker than the void of space, a shifting mass of darkness that seemed to suck the light out of the room. I tried to move, but I was paralyzed, trapped in its icy grip. The shadow whispered my name, its voice a chorus of distorted echoes. It spoke of my fears, my regrets, every dark thought I'd ever had. It knew me, inside and out. I fought to break free, but it was like struggling against the abyss itself. My vision blurred, and I felt myself slipping into unconsciousness. When I woke, I was alone again. The shadow was gone, but its presence lingered, a stain on my mind. I knew it wasn't over. I could feel it, watching me, waiting for the moment to strike again. The ISS felt like a tomb, a prison I couldn't escape. Every creak of the metal, every flicker of the lights, filled me with dread. I tried to keep myself busy, to maintain some semblance of normalcy, but the whispers never stopped. They grew louder, more insistent, filling every moment of silence. The shadow appeared more frequently, its form growing more defined, more real. I could feel its cold touch, its breath on my skin. One day, as I floated through the central module, I saw it clearly for the first time. It was standing in the corner, watching me with eyes that burned with malevolent intent. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. The shadow moved towards me, its form shifting and writhing like a mass of dark tendrils. I tried to run, but there was nowhere to go. The walls of the ISS closed in on me, trapping me in a claustrophobic nightmare. The shadow reached out, its tendrils wrapping around me, pulling me into its cold embrace. I fought, but it was like struggling against the void itself. My vision darkened, and the last thing I heard was my own name, whispered in that terrible, distorted voice. When I came to, I was alone again. The shadow was gone, but its presence lingered, a stain on my mind. I knew it wasn't over. I was alive, but for how long? The ISS felt like a tomb, a prison I couldn't escape. I waited, knowing it would return, knowing that I was its prey. Time lost all meaning. My supplies dwindled, but hunger was the least of my concerns. The entity was closer now. I could feel its cold breath on my neck, see its shadow stretching towards me. There was no escape, nowhere to run in the infinite void of space. As the days turned into weeks, my sanity began to fray. The whispers became a constant chorus, filling my mind with their insidious words. I could no longer distinguish between reality and nightmare. The shadow haunted my every waking moment, its presence a constant reminder of my impending doom. In my desperation, I tried to communicate with the entity. I spoke to it, pleaded with it, hoping to understand its purpose, but it never responded. It only watched, waiting for the moment to strike again. I was a prisoner in my own mind, trapped in a cycle of terror and despair. One night, as I lay in the darkness, I felt a cold hand on my shoulder. I turned, expecting to see the shadow, but there was nothing there. My heart raced as I realized that it was inside me, its presence a cancer that had taken root in my soul. I was no longer alone. The shadow was a part of me, its darkness intertwined with my own. I knew that I couldn't escape it. The ISS was my prison, but my mind was my true tormentor. The shadow had claimed me, and there was no escape. I could feel it, whispering in my ear, filling my thoughts with its malevolent intent. I was a puppet, dancing to its twisted tune. And so I send this message into the void, hoping someone, someday, might hear it. Beware the darkest corners of space, for they are not empty. There are things out here, ancient and malevolent, waiting for the chance to ensnare the unwary. I am the last astronaut, trapped in the cold embrace of the cosmos, haunted by a darkness that will never let me go. And I know in my bones that it is only a matter of time before it claims me once and for all.